From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Top of the morning, security gang. Welcome to another episode of the CyberHub Podcast. I hope everyone is doing well and you had a good, long, relaxing weekend. We did a special show yesterday for Memorial Day. We also covered some cyber news, but today we're purely cyber news. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Nudge Security. You'll hear more about them later on in the show, but you should definitely go and check it out. Lots to talk about on this morning's program. Let's go ahead and get the show going. But before we do, please make sure to subscribe and follow us on your favorite podcast listening platform. You can also catch us on our YouTube channel where we put exclusive content in video format, and then all of my writing, everything we write, if you're a reader, you can find only and exclusively on our Substack, jamesazar.substack.com. And now without further ado, join me for a double espresso to power us through the show. Coffee cup cheers, y'all. Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and get the show going with auction house Christie now confirming they suffered a data breach after a ransomware group threatened to leak information on Monday stolen from the company. Christie's website went offline earlier this month due to what the company described at the time as a technology security incident. The cyber attack was launched just as the auction house was attempting to sell high-value items worth an estimated $840 million. While the incident prevented potential buyers from viewing the auctioned items on Christie's site, people could still make bids, and the event was considered a success. It now appears the incident was the result of an attack conducted as part of a relatively new ransomware operation named RansomHub. The cybercrime group emerged in February of this year, made headlines in recent weeks after it started allegedly leaking stolen data from healthcare transaction processor Change Healthcare. RansomHub, it appears to be kind of one of the affiliate of Lockbit that was behind the Change Healthcare attack. And then obviously, they had a fallout there. The group kind of split, and some people kind of rebranded, came back as with the name RansomHub. The cyber criminals claim to have stolen at least 2 gigs worth of data from the auction house and are threatening to make it public in less than a week unless a ransom is paid. 2 gigs is not a lot of data unless it's really, really, really private. The attackers claim they have stolen sensitive personal information belonging to at least 500,000 of Christie's private clients from all over the world, and they have high-value clientele. So you could see them try to make a deal there. A Windows version of a Rustdoor installer is spreading via a compromised audiovisual software package hosted and distributed by an Aviv recording platform that's being used in courtrooms, jails, prisons, councils, hearings, and lecture halls across the entire nation. The threat actors corrupted Justice's AV viewer version 8.3.7, which is used to access media and login files produced for the Justice AV platform, according to researchers at Rapid7, who released their findings of the supply chain cyber attack campaign. Once deployed, the Rustdoor installer allows adversaries to completely take over infected systems, according to the report. The viewer had been available to download via the vendor's website, and it's shipped as a Windows-based installer package that prompts for high privilege upon execution. Rustdoor was first discovered in December of last year at targeted OS machines. The Windows version, also referred to as GateDoor, it's written in Golang instead of Rust. It was found shortly thereafter, according to researchers behind the discovery. Dating back to its origin, Rustdoor and GateDoor were deployed in supply chain attack disguised as legitimate software. Some of those campaigns have been linked to the Black Cat Alpha V ransomware group. The first malicious version of JAVS viewer package emerged in February 21st, and Rapid7 began investigating it on May 10th. JAVS has since removed the corrupted viewer files and told Rapid7 that no source code, certificate systems, or other software were compromised in the incident itself. But nonetheless, it just shows you how unbelievable supply chain attacks are and how easy they are and how many ways there are to take advantage of them. Pharmacy prescription service provider ANA Services, which also operates as Sav-RX, is notifying nearly 3 million individuals that their personal information was compromised in the cyber attack that occurred on October 8th of last year, When it identified the interruption to its computer network, it did what everyone would do. We contained it. We worked to restore the systems. The disruption didn't result in any material disruption to patient care. Prescriptions were still shipped on time and without delay. Our adjudication system was not affected, so network pharmacy claims adjudicated continuously without impact, according to them. The attackers accessed non-clinical systems containing personal information and exfiltrated data from them. The compromised information includes names, addresses, date of birth, Gmail addresses, phone numbers, social security numbers, eligibility data, and insurance identification numbers. No clinical or financial data was compromised in the attack. So that's the good news for that team right there. And now our friends at Nudge Security would like to share this message with all of y'all.
When your CEO asks, hey, are we using that SaaS app that was just breached? How quickly and confidently can you answer? Due to the sprawling nature of SaaS app adoption, it's hard to know who is using what and to understand the implications when a popular SaaS app is breached. To solve this, Nudge Security discovers and categorizes every account for every SaaS app ever created by anyone in your organization. And a full inventory of all SaaS accounts is available within minutes of starting a free trial. Not only will you know who's using what, but you can automate communications out to end users, called nudges of course, that remind them to enable MFA, shut down unused accounts, enroll apps in SSO, etc. And Nudge Security will notify you of breaches impacting your SaaS provider so you can take immediate action to mitigate the impact. Start a 14-day trial now at nudgesecurity.com/cyberhub.
So I just want to share a little story there before I go to the next one. Team over at Nudge, unbelievable. We're going to have their co-founder on the show next Friday on June 6th. Watch for the LinkedIn event that's going to be coming out in the next 24 hours. Really excited about that. But I've had a lot of people use this free trial, and a lot of them have come back and said, I didn't know where we were. I didn't know our SaaS landscape. I didn't know people had done this. And so we used to call it shadow IT. We now call it shadow SaaS. That's what Nudge helps you resolve, set policies for, and manage. So go check it out, nudgesecurity.com/cyberhub. Go get your 14-day free trial. And these guys have some really cool tools there as well. We'll continue with Check Point advising customers to review their VPN configuration to ensure that they cannot be abused by threat actors for initial access to enterprise networks. The company has been monitoring attempts to gain access to customers' VPN and identified a small number of login attempts that leveraged all VPN local accounts with password-only authentication. The attacks do not appear to involve any sort of exploitation of software vulnerability, but rather they seem to be more on the idea of credential stuffing. Relying on these customers' notification, checkpoints analysis, the teams found that within 24 hours, a few potential customers which were subject to similar attempts. Checkpoint has instructed customers not to rely on password-only authentication for remotely accessing their network, urging people to enable MFA, as well as add additional hardening for accessing the Checkpoint VPN. Researchers are warning about threat actors behind the cat DDoS malware botnet that has exploited over 80 known security flaws in various software over the past 3 months to infiltrate vulnerable devices and co-opt them into a botnet for conducting denial of service attacks. Cat DDoS related gang samples have used a large number of known vulnerabilities to deliver that, according to the GNZin X Lab team. Additionally, the maximum number of targets has been observed to exceed 300 plus per day. The flaws impact routers, networking gear, other devices from vendors like Apache, CatKey, Cisco, D-Link, Draytech, FreeBBX, GitLab, GoCloud, Huawei, Jenkins, Linksys, Metabase, Netgear, Realtek, Seagate, SonicWall, Tenda, TutorLink, TP-Link, ZTE, and Zixel, among many, many others. This cat DDoS was previously documented as late as 2023, describing it to have a Mirai botnet type variant capabilities. A majority of the attacks of the malwares are located in China, followed by the US, Japan, Singapore, France, Canada, the UK, Bulgaria, Germany, Netherlands, and India, per the information shared there. Researchers also demonstrated that the disclosure of the DNS bomb CVE 2024-33655, as the name implies, exploits the DNS queries and responses to achieve an amplification factor of 20,000 times larger. The attack at its core capitalizes on legitimate DNS features such as query rate limits, query response timeouts, and query aggregation and maximum response size settings to create timed floods of responses using a malicious design authority and a vulnerable recursive resolver. So you see those types of attacks coming through. Hackers, or criminals, better yet, are utilizing code from a Python clone of Microsoft's venerable Minesweeper game to hide malicious scripts and attacks on European and U.S. financial organizations. Ukraine's CSIRT and CERT Ukraine attributed the attack to a threat actor tracked as UAC0188, who's using the legitimate code to hide Python scripts that download and install the SuperOps RMM. SuperOps RMM is a legitimate remote management software that gives remote actors direct access to compromised systems. According to CERT Ukraine, reports that research following the initial discovery of this attack revealed at least 5 potential breaches by the same files in financial and insurance institutions across Europe and the United States. The attack began with an email sent from the address support@patient-docs-mail.com, impersonating a medical center with a subject personal web archive of medical documents. The recipient is prompted to download a 33 megabyte SCR file from the provided Dropbox link. The file contains innocuous code from a Python clone of the Minesweeper game, along with malicious Python code that downloads additional script from a remote source. Many executables in the Minesweeper code contain a function called create license ver, which is repurposed to decode and execute the hidden malicious code. So legitimate software components are used for masking and facilitating the attack itself. It's a base 64 string, and it's decoded to assemble a zip file that contains an MSI installer for SuperOps RMM, which is eventually extracted and executed using a static password. So again, another advanced technique there. An aggressive nebulous ring of young cyber criminals linked to a string of recent high-profile breaches is made up of approximately 1,000 people, according to a senior FBI official discussing this stuff on Friday. In remarks Friday, the cybercrime-focused SleuthCon conference, Brian Vorndran, assistant director of the FBI Cyber Division, described the group best known as Scattered Cyber as a very, very large, expensive, dispersed group of individuals, many of whom don't know each other directly. They emanate from an online community known as the COM. The group also is tracked by cybersecurity firms as Octopus or UNC 39 or 44. Scattered Cyber has breached a who's who's of big name companies, including the casino giant MGM Resorts and Okta. They've made up of mostly native English speakers in the United States and UK. Scattered Spider is classified as a top 3 cybersecurity threat alongside China and the Russia's Foreign Intelligence Agency. Scattered Cyber and the broader COM excel in social engineering, including by talking their way into privileged networks, by targeting help desks and other key access points. Once inside, they've demonstrated immense skill in moving around networks and exfiltrating data. They've also shown signs of collaboration with established ransomware groups. This only lets you know just the type of threats that emanate out there. The Pakistan Nexus Transparent Tribe actor has been linked to a new set of attacks targeting Indian government, defense, and aerospace sectors using a cross-platform malware written in Python, Golang, and Rust. The cluster of activity spanned from late 2023 to April of this year and is anticipated to persist. The BlackBerry Research and Intelligence team said in a technical report early last week. The spear phishing campaign is also notable for its abuse of popular online services like Discord, Google Drive, Slack, and Telegram, once again underscoring how they're adopting legitimate programs into the attack flow. According to BlackBerry, the targets of the email-based attacks include 3 companies that are crucial stakeholders and clients of Department of Defense production. All 3 companies targeted are headquartered in the Indian city of Bangalore. While the names of the firms were not disclosed, indications are that email messages targeted Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, one of the largest aerospace and defense companies in the world, Bharat Electronics, and BEML Limited, a public sector undertaking. So all in all, again, these types of attacks continue to resonate within globally and requires a lot of attention from practitioners as to who are your customers, who are you supplying, how can you support them, and how can you make sure that you're not part of a supply chain attack? Because you are a target, whether directly or indirectly, you are one. That's it for our show this morning. We'll be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern, live with all the latest and greatest. Please make sure to subscribe. Go check out our friends at Nudge Security. And most of all, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.